Hi, hello, and welcome to the future of religion, the biggest mistake in the history of mankind. But before we start, I have done research yesterday. The TEDx guys from Koenigsallee have invited me, and I have done research yesterday to find an answer to one of the most important questions in the history of mankind: which is better, Altbier or Kölsch? And it is Altbier, definitely. It is much better than Kölsch. Okay. The title of my second book, by the way, is Ich hab Geisterblitz. Wallah, wallah, ich hab Geisterblitz. You have to say it like this. Okay, my name is Philipp Möller. But since there is no Ö in the English language, just call me Phil. As you may have already noticed, I am an atheist, and there is three main reasons for that. The first reason is, as everybody on this world, I was born without the belief in a God. And since no one taught me to, I am still a natural-born atheist. It's really that simple. The second reason is, I am a teacher's son, and as a teacher's son, I am a natural-born smartass. I love to correct people, really, and I love asking uncomfortable questions, like, what the heck are you talking about? Which is a very common question with priests and religion teachers. And the third reason is, I am a Berliner, and we Berliners traditionally don't give a fuck about clerical bullshit. So, fuck you, clerics. We know you made God up to control people, but you're not going to control us, or the other 82% of young Europeans who say, I don't need a God. Okay, during my studies, at one time I had to finally decide what to do with my life and how to earn money, and I remember clearly that day where I thought, well, maybe I could be a professional atheist. And this is what I am now. Here I am, right? I'm working for the Giordano Bruno Foundation, which is a think tank for enlightenment and humanism. I write books, as you know. And when I was thinking about the question of the future of religion, I was remembering a quote from Terry Pratchett. You know him. He said, if you don't know where you come from, then you don't know where you are. And if you don't know where you are, you don't know where you are going. And if you don't know where you are going, you're probably going wrong. And since going wrong in terms of religion mean to probably blow up the whole planet or slaughter half of mankind, I think we should take a close look to the history of religion, then the present of religion, and then the future of religion. I am not a history teacher, so let me get straight to the point. The history of religion is a history of stupidity, cruelty, and of terror. I mean, it sounds hard, really, but you may say now, hey, Phil, come on, there's many religions and they are very different. You're absolutely right. There are many religions, but they all have one thing in common. They are all terribly wrong. And by all, I mean every one of them. And by terribly, I mean that it's almost tragic how religion seems to prevent people from thinking, and this is very, very bad. I admit there's very different forms of religion. For example, the ancient Viking gods. They are a bunch of cruel, invisible freaks. The ancient Egypt gods are a bunch of mummified, invisible freaks, and crazy cats and dogs and stuff. The ancient Greek freaks are drunk and horny as hell, so I actually quite like them. Hinduism is a bunch of colorful, invisible freaks with many arms to hold you in exactly that social position you were born in. It's called the caste system, and it is based on Hinduism. Judaism is a set of silly rules that even 90% of the Jews don't follow. But at least they have a very good humor, so I want to tell you a rabbi joke. There's a person coming to a rabbi saying, Rabbi, please, I have this urgent wish to live forever. What can I do? The rabbi says, get married. Really? I'll live forever then? No, but the wish will disappear. It's a pretty good joke. I like it. The clock is ticking, guys. So, speaking of love, Christianity, the religion of love, sounds awesome, guys, really, if we had just known that you meant the love to little kids. And Islam, finally, the religion of peace? Are you kidding me? Only Buddhism is a very sophisticated way of life for young and beautiful yoga girls. So I have nothing to complain about that. Except that it's an esoteric postcard philosophy which justifies the genocide of non-Buddhists. Okay, but stupidity is no excuse for what happened about 2,000 years ago, because when the people sat together to create one super mighty God, they actually weren't cruel or silly at all. You know, the architects of monotheism, when they wrote those weird lyrics of the Old Testament, they were sitting together to create one God to rule them all. And the Old Testament, by the way, is still considered by politicians and by priests and other criminals as the book of books. I don't know. But the people back then were not silly at all, because they could look back on 1,500 years of Greek high culture. And the Greeks had it all. They had science, philosophy, and arts. The three pillars for a happy life without religion. The Greeks had democracy. Okay, that was kind of weird, to be honest. The Greeks had women's rights. The Greeks had women's rights. Okay, they were kind of different from today, but they were probably better than the women's rights today in Saudi Arabia, or in an African village, or in a Bavarian village. They had public schools, they had swimming halls, they had healthcare, clean water, they had sex, drugs, and probably some kind of rock and roll. And then, in the young and aspiring Roman Empire, some freaks gathered together to create one super mighty God. And in a short period of time, they have turned the flourishing garden of Europe into a dirty shithole called the Middle Ages, which lasted for 1,000 years. And by that, I haven't talked about the Kreuzzüge, about the Hexenverbrennungen, the invention of hell, what a sick and pervert idea. I haven't talked about Luther and his unrivaled and raging anti-Semitism. I haven't talked about Hitler and his birthday party for Luther called the Reichskristallnacht. I haven't talked about the Reichskonkordat or the sexual abuse. Because all that is the history of religion, and by now I shall proceed to the present of religion, which is completely different from cruelty and stupidity and terror, and completely different in terms of exactly the same, actually. I know there's millions and millions of religious people living in peace and harmony with their brothers and sisters in faith. And I'm going to read a list of names to you, and let's find out what they all have in common, okay? That is Vladimir Putin, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Donald Trump, Viktor Orban, Jaroslaw Kaczynski, Alexander Gauland, Marine Le Pen, Horst Seehofer. This international gang of nationalists are all religious. I'm not saying that every religious politician is right-winged, but every right-winged politician seems to be religious. They are using religion to create hate to other religious people. And let's take the Middle East conflict, okay? When I was born 28 years ago, there was the Middle East conflict, and in these 28 years, it hasn't become any better. No, it has become worse. And I am pretty sure that as long as people consider themselves to be Jew first, or Muslim first, or Christian first, not human first, there is no chance for peace on this world. Religion Religion, it sadly appears, is an eternal source for hate and war. And you think this is exaggerated? No. Take a look at the Western Europe in the 21st century. We have the least relevance of religion, and at the same time the highest rate of peace, of personal freedom, and of prosperity in the whole history of mankind. You want to bet? Get on a plane, fly to any Islamic state, and you'll see that you will land right in the Middle Ages only with Wi-Fi and ABC weapons. And even in the heart of Europe, there is one country where the separation between the state and religion is not finished at all. And that, of course, is the Church Republic of Germany, where the church taxes are withdrawn by the government, where employment laws do not apply to religious social institutions. And they are also paid 98% by the state. So thank you, God, for 2%, and that the so-called inventors of charity are allowed to fire Jews, Muslims, atheists, and homosexuals for no reason. We have laws for circumcision. We have laws for euthanasia. We have actually so many laws that are based on religious things that you could say that from the cradle to the grave we are escorted by religion. And that in a country where 80%, for example, says in terms of euthanasia, say, hey, there's only one person that decides about my death, and that is myself. No politician, no doctor, and no priest. And still, the German court has ratified a law that criminalizes euthanasia. But there's another enemy right now for the open and modern society. And also, if that sentence could make me false friends, I'll still say it. Some of the cultural and religious elements of Islam are just not compatible with a modern society. It is like that. I'm very sorry for that, but it is just like that. Religious self-determination, women's rights, secular legal system, just to name 3 things, those are not compatible with Islam. It's just like that. And that rise of that Islam again empowers the original haters of freedom, which are the Christian right wings. So living in Europe by today, you could think that you are surrounded by conservative assholes and religious maniacs. But it's not like that. They are just louder, but we are more. By the time of World War II, 99% of the people in Germany were Christians. And by today, 26.5% are Protestants and 28.5% are Catholic, while a whopping 36% are not in organized faith at all. 12% are active believers in Germany, and 82% say, I am happy without God in Europe. So it's not true that you are surrounded. We actually surround them. We just have to get better politics. And this is where I want to start to talk about the future of religion. Actually, this presentation could have been like sex with a Catholic priest, quick and dirty. I would have shown you a white screen and say, this is how I imagine the future of religion. It just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it sounds hard, but imagine above us only sky, no heaven. Imagine that there would be no terror and no silly prayers against the terror that was evoked by prayers in the first place. No more Middle East conflict, no more amateur choirs with guitars out of tune, no more smug-faced priests nourished by society, contributing nothing else but incomprehensible nonsense and ethical ideas from the past. Doesn't sound that like paradise to you? Well, to me, it does, honestly. And I find it quite ironic that the absence of the ideology that told us that will bring us paradise is bringing us paradise. I was reading a story about a guy who he was brought up as a Jehovah's Witnesses, you know. No birthday, no blood transfusion, and they really believe that one day Jesus will come and save them and kill everyone else. And you know how he got healed from this form of mental illness? By information. He read a Wikipedia article about his own religion. And that's so simple. And later he wrote a book and he found out that the more internet we have, the less religious we get. Information seems to be the best remedy against religion. And so, I know it sounds super religious, but that guy called the moment where he read that article his awakening. And this is actually what I wish for religious people to wake up. I'm not saying you're foolish, but you obviously have been fooled. And that by a system which doesn't serve you, but only the leaders. My idea would be that you should read something about religion, and maybe about a very different religion from yours. And by one day, there will be this moment where you think, wow, this is a super weird religion. And this is exactly how I feel about your religion. That's empathy. To be honest, I hope for religion to slowly disappear and be replaced by a rational system that enables 8 billion people to live together in peace on this world. I am really hoping that. But who am I? Who are we, the professional atheists, the secular humanists, to have a naive wish like this? But before we continue making the same religious mistakes we have done in 2,000 and more years, I have an idea. Or maybe I should call it an urgent suggestion. Why don't we make religion just a private matter? This is my suggestion. Why don't we see religion even as a thing of intimacy? Imagine religion, as an internet meme says, like a penis. It's okay to have one. It's okay not to have one. It's even okay to be proud of it, but please, don't swing it around in public. Don't write any laws with it and leave my kids alone with it. It's very simple. I think we can agree on that, can't we? Because in this way, everybody wins. The religious people can keep their God or gods or holy camole, and we are just not, don't have to take care about it, really. It's that simple. I mean, we don't want to hear your church bells ring on Sunday morning or your imam sing 5 times a day. Get a bloody Bluetooth speaker. It's that simple. I know. Religion as a private matter is the opposite of what religious leaders want, because that way they would lose their job, but this is exactly what I aim on. They're still trying to tell us that religion is the remedy for all of humanity's problems. Guys, it hasn't worked in 2,000 years, and it won't work in the future. I'm pretty sure. Thank you. Or as my friend Michael Schmidt-Salomon says, whose birthday is today, so happy birthday, Michael, we should kill bad ideas before bad ideas kill people. And to the politicians, you have probably bet on the lame horse for much too long, because being religious is no longer a guarantee for good votes. I really think we live in wild times. There's climate change, there is populism, nationalism, there is protectionism, there is digitalization. Do you think prayers will help? No, I think if we want a future of humanity, the future of religion must be a private matter. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.